how did you get here? I mean, things weren't great, but was she really this disconnected from you this whole time? What if I told you that there was one simple action that you could take to completely change her mind and have her fall back in love? I know that can seem impossible, but didn't she just turn her emotions off instantly? Or so it seems so? Then why wouldn't she also be able to turn them back on again just as quickly? Well, she can, and a lot of the wives of the men in our program do so every single day using this one skill. It's the common denominator because it doesn't just draw your wife back to you. It shows her without a shadow of a doubt that your transformation is real and it's here to stay. So in the next few minutes, I'll reveal what that one action is and how to use it to turn the situation completely around. And plus, I'll share practical change you can make that satisfies a desire she's been secretly craving to feel again. One that can reignite everything between you two. And then lastly, I'll share a story of a man who fought to win his wife back, only to discover that his greatest victory had nothing to do with her at all. So let's jump in. So what is this one critical move that has the power to transform your marriage? First, let's be honest about what's really happening here. You don't just love her, you've started needing her to feel okay. You become bound to her mood, her reactions, her affection. Every cold shoulder, every unanswered test, every sign of distance, it shakes you. And she feels it. The presence she once felt safe with is not there anymore. Instead of being a strong, steady force that she was drawn to, she senses that you're just leaning onto her for stability. And that's the irony. The more you need her to stay, the less she feels safe. Right now, everything inside of you is screaming to hold on, to fight harder, to prove your worth. And it feels like if you let go, you lose everything. But what if I told you the opposite is actually true? For example, have you ever gripped a rope just so tightly that your hands started to just ache? And the more you clenched, the more pain you felt. But the moment you loosened your grip, even just slightly, relief came. Your strength returned and you had control again. And then you can endure the long haul. Well, the same force that made your grip unbearable is the very thing pushing your wife away. This is where everything changes. This is the law of release. So let's tackle the hardest question. How do you embrace this law and loosen your grip on the marriage you desperately want to save? Not to walk away, but to allow something new to grow, even when every part of you is screaming to hold on tighter. How do you do it in a way that creates space for her, rebuilds your confidence, and makes her see you with a renewed sense of respect? All right, let's talk about the one thing that's going to draw her closer than ever through renewed confidence in yourself. And it starts with this first principle. It's called release to then rebuild. I want you to think of releasing as creating a clean emotional slate, free from resentment, baggage, and expectations that really weighed your relationship down. A lot of men in your situation make the mistake of clinging to what they had, desperately trying to restore the old marriage. They follow her every move, fight for scraps of attention, and hold on tightly to the version of the relationship that they remember. But keep in mind, she's not looking to go back to what was. That's the very thing she left behind. To her, the old marriage wasn't working, and trying to force her back into it, it only pushes her further away. This is why smothering destroys safety. You need to understand the dynamic at play here. The more you chase, the less safe she feels, okay? Because right now, she's not experiencing you as a leader, a protector, or a man she can trust to be steady. She feels like she has to hold the weight of the whole entire relationship while you're the one leaning on her for reassurance. Let me tell you, that pressure is exhausting for her. Okay, women aren't drawn to a man that they feel responsible emotionally for. They're drawn to the guy that he can stand on his own, right? He is his own man, right? You've heard women say this all the time. What you need is a fresh start. And that begins with no one other than you. Think of a snake shedding its skin. A snake doesn't hold on to its old restrictive skin. It lets it go and allows for new growth. The process is necessary because the old skin becomes tight, too worn to protect or serve it anymore. So in the same exact way, you need to shed your old patterns, right? The resentment and the baggage of your marriage. Like the snake, this isn't about loss, it's about renewal. You may worry that letting go will only widen the distance between the two of you, right? But you're actually giving the relationship room to breathe, okay? She needs that, you need that, you both need this. And more importantly, you need to trust this process. You know the movie Up? Carl clings to his house as a symbol of the life and memories that he shared with his wife. His house represents the attachment to the past, and he's determined to protect it at all costs. But in the climax of the movie, Carl faces a critical decision to hold on to the house or to save the friend. He ultimately lets go of the house, realizing it's weighing him down and keeping him stuck in the past. This powerful moment symbolizes Carl's acceptance of a new chapter and his willingness to embrace what lies ahead, in the unknown. Now, there are practical steps that you need to use in order to release your old self to step into the new self that wins her back, okay? Number one, shift your perspective. Reframe letting go. Instead of seeing it as giving up, seeing it as making space for growth. Remind yourself that clinging to the old version of yourself in your marriage is like holding on to just that worn out rope, right? Or that house. It keeps you stuck and prevents you from moving forward. Practice self-reflection. You ask yourself also, how is it serving you? Write down your answers with clarity. The second thing to do is to create emotional space. You must pause before acting. Whenever you felt the urge to just text, call, or fix things immediately, take a deep breath and step away and use that moment to focus inward instead of reacting outward. Limit your overthinking, set specific times to reflect on the relationship. The third step is to release that damn resentment, okay? Actively write a forgiveness letter without sending it, and just forgive your wife, forgive yourself, forgive anyone who's wronged you, to let go of that resentment. That resentment is that corrosive acid that is always pulling you back to the past, doomed to you to have it repeated, okay? Pay attention to the moments that bring up resentment, okay? And label the emotion and sit with it, let it pass through you, and then let it go. That is emotional competence, okay? Being able to do that simple process repeated over time leads to higher self-awareness and higher self-esteem, which brings her back. And then once you've cleared that emotional weight, the next step is to shift the dynamic between you entirely. It's called leading to be followed. Now, if you want her to see you differently, you have to become someone that she just can't ignore. Like biologically, she's like, oh my God, this is the guy that I fell in love with, even better, right? This means no longer waiting for her to change or hoping she'll come around. You lead and then she follows, but only when you've given her something to follow. What do I mean by this? In order to do that, you must shift your focus entirely to yourself, right? The transformation you're working toward, it should be so impactful, so undeniable that it wipes out the old narrative about you. There's even a study that will back this up. It's called the self-determination theory. It shows that pursuing personal growth for internal satisfaction, not external validation, it boosts resilience, confidence, and overall well-being. When men set goals for themselves in fitness, in relationships, in emotional strength, in religion, or spirituality, whatever it is, it strengthens your mental health and makes you just stronger and more attractive because you are setting goals higher than other people, right? That is important. Now look, if you're making these changes just to see if she notices, she will sense that neediness, that covert contract, that attachment to like, I'm doing this just for you. But if she notices in moments, and she'll test this, we have a whole testing theory at the end of this video, I'll show it to you. But if she notices in those tests that you're actually doing this for yourself, that there's actually internal shift that has gone on, there's a new you, there's a transformation. You're taking this moment of downward descent and pain, and you're using it as fuel to become a better version of you. That's when she notices. Now I want to tell you about the relentless mindset, okay? Arnold Schwarzenegger in his early 20s had one goal: to become the greatest bodybuilder in the world. And living in Austria with limited resources, his dream seemed really far-fetched to everyone in his village, in his city. But instead of dwelling on doubt, Arnold poured himself into self-improvement. He trained for hours, daily visualized his success, even broke into the gym on the weekends just to stay on track. Beyond physical strength, he studied English and developed his charisma, knowing his ambitions that would carry him forward more than just his overall physique. And Arnold's relentless focus left no room for distractions or insecurities. He didn't waste time worrying about doubters. He worked so intensely that success became inevitable. By 20, he became the youngest ever Mr. Universe. His unshakable dedication, it didn't just build his body, it built his entire life. And that same principle carried him into movies, politics, and business. And the world can't deny that when he set his mind to something, he achieved it. So the lesson here is that when you immerse yourself in self-improvement, there's no space for anxiety or fear because you're so focused on the goal. A whole amount of anxiety, fear, and doubt comes from a self-focus, okay? The transformation you achieve doesn't just change how you see yourself. It changes how you see the world and how the world sees you. In relationships, this means becoming so focused on your growth and your abundance that your value becomes undeniable, inspiring her to see you differently because she can't deny that. Remember, you're not giving up on the marriage. You're letting go of what you can't control anymore, her and her reactions, and focusing on yourself, building up who you are, finding who you are again. I know it sounds cliche, but that is really what needs to happen right here in order to win her back. The question is like, how can you tell that you're making real progress? That's a big question though. We give them so many guys, and here's the catch. If your thoughts are still consumed by her, the wording of her texts, how many emojis she's used, right? When's the last time she's talked to you? Did she kiss you that day? Is her tone a little off? You are focusing on the wrong thing, okay? The work you put into yourself needs to be so consuming and fulfilling that her presence or absence can become secondary to you, really. This doesn't mean that you don't care about her. It means that your purpose comes first, okay? And David Data says in his book, The Way of the Superior Man, a man's highest purpose is his direction, not his relationship. If a man prioritizes his woman, then he disserves his purpose and weakens himself, right? And loses her trust. So consequently, the stronger and more abundant your life becomes, the more space you create in her mind to start wondering about you. Look, curiosity is a powerful thing. And when you're no longer chasing, no longer tethered and connected to every action that she has, you create a natural shift in the dynamic. The question is though, how can you achieve this powerful internal switch? Let me give you some practical steps, which I usually don't do in this channel, okay? So how can you achieve this powerful internal switch? Well, here's some practical steps to become the man that she can't ignore. You need to transform yourself into a man who commands respect, admiration, and attraction. If I were to talk to many of you, I bet your daily routine isn't really optimized. You must structure your day with purpose, prioritizing physical fitness, mental growth, and productivity. Being physically fit isn't just about looking good, right? It's about building that internal discipline, releasing stress, and creating a sense of accomplishment every single day. That if everything else goes wrong, at least you worked out. That helps you detach from external validation as well. I would like you, if you're not already, to develop at least one hobby or one thing that you can develop a skill in other than your work. I want you to start each day intentionally, perhaps through meditation, journaling, or to maintain focus. Something that's just like a trigger habit at the beginning of your day that starts your whole entire day. The second thing is to cultivate emotional stability. Learn to stay grounded regardless of external circumstances, making you reliable and magnetic. Engaging in activities like meditation or just learning to calm your own nervous system despite everything happening around you, that leads to more respect. The third thing is to reclaim your masculine energy. I want you to embrace purpose, direction, and leadership. This means doing things like setting boundaries, understanding your values as those signposts for how to engage in life with other people, especially her. Lead with vision. Define a clear direction for your life and meaningful goals. Remember, you're not changing yourself just to win her back. You're becoming the best version of yourself for yourself and everyone else around you. You have to find your deeper reason on why you're actually doing this. Otherwise, you'll lose motivation when it's outside of yourself. Because once you do this, you've reached to the point where she questions everything she thought she knew about you. Now let's talk about the epiphany of unbound confidence. This is arguably the most powerful principle of this whole entire video. This is when the work you've done on yourself comes full circle. Not because of her reaction, right? Her changes in her, but because of how you feel about yourself when you look in the mirror. When you start this process, your goal might be clear to get her back, right? But the surprising twist is, if you've ever put in the work, you'll reach a point where you realize that the man you've become is no longer chasing approval or validation, even from her. Instead, you built a version of yourself that stands strong, whether she's in the picture or not. Now, one of my clients, Raj, man, he thought he knew what really letting go actually was until it finally happened when he had an epiphany.
When I knew I let go, I knew that, I had to prioritize myself. And fast forward, when Shobi said she wanted to reconcile after I had let go, was when I truly realized that I had fully let go. Because when she wanted to reconcile, I didn't. And that's when I realized, okay, this is what fully letting go means. All this time I thought I had let go, but it was never 100%. I think 100% letting go is when your partner wants back and you don't. I think until that, you've not truly fully let go.
Now, the ultimate test of letting go, it isn't just about feeling okay if she leaves. That's a huge component of it. Absolutely get there. And it's easier said than done. But it's also about realizing that her return doesn't define your success. Because by the time she does come back, you're not the same man who was waiting for her. Does that make sense? Raj's transformation was a brutal roller coaster ride for him, and full of high crashes and gut-wrenching turns. But the breakthrough only came when he stopped chasing and started rebuilding himself. That's when he finally found that emotional freedom. And by the time that she came back, he questioned if he even wanted her. And that's a masculine shift. When you look at the man you were, the work you put in, and the man you've become, just ask, I've grown, I've stayed grounded, I've held my integrity. Can she say the same? This isn't arrogance, right? It's owning your transformation. Your worth isn't tied to whether she stays or goes, okay? You need to know that intuitively. The process isn't easy. It's forged in solitude and self-discipline, through frustration and anger and doubt. But in that fire, you reclaim your purpose, passions, and confidence that you once had. And here's the ultimate paradox of all this. You do the heavy lifting, but she only notices when the dust settles. And by then, you're no longer asking, will she come back? You're asking, do I still want this? That's when you truly let go. And if she leaves you, you're at peace if she were to. And if she returns, it's not because you begged. It's because she's drawn to the grounded, confident man that you've become. And I talked about the testing framework right here, and here's Raj's story. If you want to check out Raj's story, set up a call with our team down below if you want an evaluation call. It's absolutely free, but make sure you're fully committed to taking action. I'll see you in the next one.